Welcome and settle in. Let go of the day and allow this story to guide you toward a peaceful, restful sleep. In a quiet American town, nestled between rolling green hills and long, peaceful highways, there lived a man named Daniel Brooks. Daniel was a good person with a kind heart and a genuine smile. But he carried something heavy inside him, a quick and fiery anger that often caught him by surprise. Little things could set it off. The frustrating crawl of traffic during his commute, a spilled cup of coffee staining his shirt, a word from a coworker that felt just a little too sharp. On some days, it felt like his emotions were in the driver's seat, and he was just along for the ride, powerless. He felt controlled, not in control, and the weight of it was exhausting. One evening, after a particularly long and stressful day, Daniel knew he needed to escape. The walls of his apartment felt like they were closing in, the air thick with unresolved tension. He grabbed his keys and went for a drive, hoping to clear his mind. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving a warm, brilliant orange ribbon stretched across the darkening sky. The road was blessedly empty, silent, and deeply comforting. The hum of the engine was a steady grounding sound. As he drove further and further into the countryside, away from the city's noise and lights, he came across a small, hand-carved wooden sign, half hidden by overgrown wildflowers. It read, "Cedar Lake, calm evenings welcome." Something about that simple phrase felt deeply inviting, almost as if it were a personal message meant just for him. A quiet welcome. Daniel felt an unexplainable pull and turned his car down the narrow dirt road that led toward the lake. When he arrived, it was as if he had stepped into another world. The air was immediately cooler, carrying a clean, fresh scent. The sky was no longer orange, but a canvas of soft purples and deep, tranquil blues. Near the water's edge, countless fireflies blinked in a silent, magical rhythm, their tiny lights dancing in the twilight. A gentle breeze rustled the tall pine trees, carrying the rich, earthy scent of pine needles and damp soil. The lake itself was astonishingly still, so smooth and reflective that it looked like a perfect sheet of dark glass. Floating in its center was a flawless, shimmering reflection of the rising moon. Daniel found an old wooden bench facing the water and sat down. He let out a long, slow breath he didn't even realize he'd been holding. For the first time in what felt like a very, very long time, he just listened. Not to the frantic noise in his head, not to the replay of the day's stresses, not to the endless stream of thoughts racing around his mind. He listened to the quiet, and in that profound, peaceful quiet, he heard the soft crunch of footsteps on the gravel path. An elderly man with silver hair that shone in the moonlight and a slow, peaceful way of walking approached him. The man's presence felt calm and warm, radiating a gentle kindness. Troubled mind? The old man asked softly, his voice barely more than a whisper, so as not to disturb the stillness. Daniel, usually guarded, found himself nodding, a little embarrassed. "I get angry too fast," he admitted, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "I don't know why. I hate feeling like this." The old man didn't offer advice or judgment. He simply sat down beside Daniel on the bench, his gaze fixed on the serene expanse of the lake. "Do you see the water?" he asked after a long moment of shared silence. When the wind is strong, the waves rise up. They crash against the shore. It can be loud, wild, unpredictable. A lot like anger, don't you think? Daniel watched the gentle ripples spreading across the lake's surface, a disturbance caused by nothing more than the evening breeze. He understood what the man meant. His anger often felt just like that, a storm erupting out of nowhere. But the man continued, his voice calm and steady. "When the wind slows and the storm passes, the water always settles. It becomes still again, quiet, and when it's calm, you can see the moon again, perfectly clear." Daniel looked at the moon's reflection. It was perfect, whole, and glowing with a soft, steady light, undisturbed on the water's surface. Anger is only the wind, the old man said, his words sinking deep into Daniel's heart. It comes, and it goes. It might be powerful for a moment, but it is temporary. But you are the lake. Something inside Daniel softened, a knot of tension he'd carried for years beginning to untangle. For his entire adult life, he had fought his emotions, trying to wrestle them into submission, to overpower the anger with force. But now, in the stillness of this place, he realized he didn't need to fight. He didn't need to build dams or walls. He just needed to let the wind pass. He needed to remember his own depth, his own stillness that lay beneath the surface. Night arrived fully. The sky was now a deep, velvety black, shimmering with 1,000 distant stars. The lake seemed to glow from within, a sheet of liquid silver under the bright moon. Daniel closed his eyes, allowing the profound calm of the lake to settle into him, breathing it in until it filled every part of him. The old man stood up slowly, his movements careful and deliberate. Whenever the wind rises, "Come back here," he said gently, "or go anywhere quiet. Find your stillness. Remember the lake?" Before Daniel could even form a reply, before he could thank him, the man turned and walked quietly down the path, his form soon disappearing into the shadows of the trees. It was as if he had been a part of the evening's magic, a messenger from the quiet itself. Daniel remained on the bench for a long time, just breathing, deeply in and slowly out. He felt the quiet wrap around him like a soft, warm blanket. He wasn't empty or numb. He was full of peace. For the first time in many months, he felt a true sense of calm, not because his anger had vanished forever, but because he finally understood it. It was a part of nature, a force that would come and go, but it wasn't him. It didn't define him. As he drove home under the vast, starlit American sky, the world felt new. The road ahead was clear. Daniel whispered to himself, a quiet promise in the peaceful dark of his car. "I am the lake. The wind will pass." That night, for the first time in a very long time, Daniel slept soundly and deeply. He drifted off into a dreamless slumber, his mind as still and clear as the moonlit water of Cedar Lake. He was calm at last. And now, you too can find that calm. Just like the lake, allow the surface to settle. Let the waves of the day pass by. Beneath it all, you are still, you are deep, and you are at peace. Sleep well.